In this video, I'm going to show you how you can replace a whole sales team with a 24/7 AI dialer that will ring your leads, outbound call them, and even handle inbound queries too, to triage sales calls into your sales team's calendar so they can literally sit and close calls. The landscape has completely changed when it comes to outbounding and booking in appointments in your calendar, and a system like this literally replaces a whole sales team at a complete fraction of the cost and will work 24/7, 365, literally making you money on autopilot. Now, in order to do this, we combine three softwares. Vapi, which is essentially our AI brain, Twilio, which we use to run our number system, and Zapier, which we then plug in to connect all of this together. Now, the framework that I use this for in our business is lead ops in to an ad. When they go through the ad, we run a quiz funnel. They essentially apply by submitting the quiz funnel. Then after the quiz funnel, they then book in a call to review their quiz answers and essentially discover how we can help them solve that. Naturally, there's a discrepancy between some applications to call bookings. Some leads naturally drop off. Not all of them move from application to call. Some of them will essentially drop off and not take that next step. What we want to do as a business is we want to ensure that there isn't drop off between those, because if we can do that, what this then means is we're going to get more leads on calls for less money. We're going to have to spend less on marketing, and we will be able to scale ads quicker because we have a higher probability of making more sales because we're pitching to more people. And it doesn't require any workload, and it literally requires about 50 quid a month to run. Ridiculous. Now, the way that we do this is, firstly, inside Twilio, what we do is we create a Twilio account. Inside Twilio, we can create phone numbers. We can essentially add phone numbers to our account in Twilio. They cost about 80 cents. What this then means is if we go to active numbers, we have one number here, for example. We can then keep adding lots of different numbers. Our number here costs about 80 cents a month. And this then means that our AI dialer can ring from a number inside Twilio. What this then also means is we can add numerous different numbers. So the AI dialer can then essentially handle multiple different phone numbers at once, which means it can be calling multiple leads at once, and then you literally don't have a cap on the number of leads that can be run. In order to do this, we have to go to regulatory bundle, and we create a bundle and we create an address. What this then does is it shows that your business, the registered location, is the same as legally where your business was incorporated, to then get that number approved with the government. When you get that number approved with the government, it means that you can ring through the number and you can essentially text through the number. And based off what number you choose, you can do MMS, which is essentially like sending images as well. All we want to do is we want to ring. We don't even use this for text, but when you're adding numbers, you'll notice that different types of numbers, mobile numbers, local numbers, toll-free numbers, they have different functions. So you just want to make sure that you get a number that you can ring from. We now have our numbers in Twilio. What we want to do is we want to plug this into Vapi. So inside Vapi, what we can do is if on the left-hand side we go to phone numbers, we can then connect to Twilio. So what we can then do here is we can add as many different numbers as we want. We can click add number. Vapi is a US-based company, so you can add US numbers direct inside Vapi, but we don't want to do that. We want to go as many different country codes as we want, because one thing that we'll find will drastically increase the answer rates, the booking rates, is essentially leads getting rung in local numbers. I know if I was getting rung from a US number, I probably wouldn't answer it. Different countries don't always process and actually ring different countries. So like I find that if I'm in Gibraltar, in Spain, I sometimes can't even ring UK numbers, whereas if I'm in UK, I can ring UK numbers. So we essentially just want to make sure that we're ringing from our local number, the lead's local number. If you get a lead from Germany, you ring them from Germany. If you get a lead from the US, you ring them from US. If you get a lead from UK, you ring them from UK. So the way that we do that is we import the number from Twilio. So what we do inside Twilio, where we purchase the number, is we write in the number. So we literally write in the number here that we take from Twilio. So the number here that we take from Twilio, we pop in here into the actual Twilio import. What we then do is inside your Twilio account, if you then go to the home screen, which I'm going to pause and do that, on your home screen, you'll have your account information. I've hidden it because you want to keep this hidden because it's essentially like a password. If you show your account information, that will then tell you your Twilio account SID and your Twilio authentication code, and then you can just label it. The label is just for internal use, so you know what type of number it is. And if you click import, when you do that, your number is pulled in. So our label is Twilio UK number 1. So we've pulled in that Twilio number. So now what we've done is we've connected Vapi to Twilio. So it means that when a lead comes through, we can ring them from our Twilio number, but Twilio will actually route that number through to Vapi, and then when the lead's talking on that number, it means the lead's actually having a conversation with that literal AI bot on the other end, which is really cool. Now, what we want to do is we want to then go to assistants and we can build an assistant. Now, one thing that I've found when building assistants is Vapi is great, but it has some limitations in terms of the voice that it can use. And we want to make sure that our voice that we're using on the phone doesn't sound too robotic and doesn't sound too much like AI. And I've found that a lot of the Vapi numbers do, as opposed to 11 Labs. 11 Labs is another incredible AI software, but the problem with 11 Labs is it's very difficult to get it to outbound calls. So what works a lot better is using Vapi, because then we can outbound. But you'll notice here that when we scroll down, when we're creating the voice configuration, we can then plug into the 11 Labs provider. And if you copy and paste this code here, that will then pull through the voice called Josh from 11 Labs, which we have found is the most human-like and the most essentially, it gets the best response when we're dialing from it. What we can then do though, is we can then build out our AI dialer, and we can plug in our full prompt here to then essentially give it all of the conditions that it will use when it's speaking to leads. And now the cool thing with this is we can give it the whole personality, the whole knowledge base, and what this will then literally do is it will use that knowledge base when it's having a conversation. Now the way that you should think about knowledge bases is it's literally like an SOP. You bring on a human staff member, what do you do with a human staff member? What do you train them? And you give them a standard operating practice and a standard way of doing things. That's the same goal with this. We want to have a standard way of doing it, and that's what we give your AI essentially dialer. We give it a system prompt of these are the steps you need to take. This is the information and your personality. If someone says this, this is the steps that you take. So essentially all the logic with it. And the cool thing with that is it will literally follow it to a T, but it will put its own spin on it based off the knowledge that you've given it and based off how the conversation is. And the cool thing with this is we can set it so that if we're outbounding a lead, so we're ringing the lead, do we want the AI dialer to speak first? Well, yes, we do in that case, because we want to ring them, then pick up the phone and then it talks. So we can then write out a first message, and we call our AI dialer Josh. And the cool thing with this is we want it to sound as human-like as possible. And a lot of the time as humans, when we're talking, we fill gaps in time where we go, So instead of it just sounding robotic and go, hey, Josh here, is now a good time? It will go, hey, Josh here, is now a good time? It then sounds a lot more human-like. And if leads think it's AI straight away, they're probably more inclined to hang up. What we can then do though, is we can actually then build out our actual dialer. We can give it additional configurations such as stability, similarity, speed, style exaggeration, and latency. So we can adjust it so how quick it sounds, how much variation will it have from conversation to conversation, and we can then tweak that. What we found is these settings work the best to have consistency with your outbound dialing. What we can then do though, is we can go through and we can essentially plug in different tools. We can essentially add in predefined functions. We haven't really found a need to do that personally our side. The same from a tool side, we haven't really found. But a big thing here is in the transcriber, you can get it to then automatically record calls. And then in your call logs, it will show you all of the calls that it's essentially had, and it will automatically record them. And then that transcription, we can automatically send wherever we want. So what we have set up is when a lead opts in, if they then haven't booked in a call within 10 minutes, this sequence triggers from a webhook inside our own software, Systemize to Scale, our CRM software. And then we have a filter. The filter filters for the lead's number. If the lead is a UK number, it will then call the lead in Vapi through our UK number. At the minute, the ad campaign that we're running this on is only in the UK, so we only have the one UK. If we were running this in a campaign in the US, then we'd have another condition for US leads, and the condition would be if the number contains +1, and then we'd ring them and would add another number into Vapi, which is a US one that would ring them from that. So the cool thing with that is we then make sure that this filter then rings leads from the actual local number. Plus, what it then means is you could have 10 leads coming in at once and they're all going to get rung from different numbers, but the same AI assistant at the same time. But what we want to do is then have another workflow set up. And with this one, when there's a new call in Vapi, so we have an opt-in, it figures out what country code the opt-in is coming from. It then essentially outbound calls the lead. When the call is finished, this then triggers, and it triggers when there's a new call through Vapi. It then waits for 5 minutes to then give it enough time to process everything. We update the call, and what this updating of the call action does is it pulls out the transcript. So where I mentioned earlier how it records the call, this then pulls the transcript, saves the transcript, and what this then means is we can then do whatever we want with the transcript. What we want to do with the transcript is we want to figure out if the lead said yes to having that call, because our goal of our outbound dialer is to essentially triage into a sales call. So we'll then figure out if the lead wants to have the call. And the way that we do that is we plug the transcript back into the contact inside our CRM, and we then have a workflow which I'm going to show you now, which takes that transcript, feeds it into ChatGPT. ChatGPT will then give us one outcome. Yes, they said to a call. No, they said no to a call. Then based off that, we have a condition that then sends a sequence. I'll show you that now. So then what we do here is we plug the data back in to push into the system. We feed it into ChatGPT with a custom prompt down here, and then pulls through the custom field with the transcript. So we feed the transcript back into ChatGPT, and then we give it one of two outcomes: yes to a call, no to a call. Based off that, what we then do is if the outcome from ChatGPT was yes to a call, we trigger a webhook, which triggers a WhatsApp outbound, and then an email sequence as well. So then we have a WhatsApp sequence until they reply, and an email sequence as well. And then when they book their call, that sequence stops. This then literally means that we have a fully automated system. We just pump traffic in on the front end, we scoop up calls on the back end, and the system literally does all of the workload for us. We combine those softwares, we've literally automated a fully outbound sales team, and the cool thing with this is you literally then just scale your traffic and you watch as calls get booked in. I'm going to give you a demo now as well. So the cool thing inside Vapi is we can go talk to Assistant, and you can actually test it as well. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah. Wait, who is this? Yeah, that's okay, but are you AI, and can you actually help me? Yeah, it does, but like, how many people have you guys worked with? Do you actually have good results that you get people? I'm struggling with getting leads. I need more leads, and I need to be working less because I can't see my family. Yeah, so I'm a fitness coach, and I help really busy CEOs and executives improve their health and their energy too. I'm a high ticket. I charge £5,000 for 6 months. I'm working about 100 hours every week, and the part that just drains me the most is I'm just stuck trying to juggle everything. We've got about 5 different softwares in the business, so it's expensive, and I'm just jumping between all these different softwares, and it's just really hard to get anything done. Yeah, so I think the thing that's the most manual is probably just tracking of leads. Like, we don't really have a system to track all of our leads, so it is a very, very manual process. Literally is literally overwhelming the whole time. Wait, hold on a minute. How long have you guys been doing this for? Yeah, I think I've just seen all of the results that you guys get and the speed that you let out new features. I just need to get my business updated. So you can see there that it literally replaces a human, has a full conversation, has a full logic base that it can use to move between conversations. And the cool thing with this is you can feed it as much knowledge as you want. So it literally has all of the knowledge that a human would. So if you're bringing on a dialer to make phone calls and take yourself out of roles, it's the same thing. You give them a knowledge base, you give this a knowledge base, and it literally performs to the same level. You can combine those softwares to literally build an outbound dialer in a pretty quick, simple to set up fashion. And the cool thing with this is when you're setting up this system, when you're building out that system prompt, you can actually use ChatGPT to help you with that. So when you're building out the system prompt, what we have done is we spent a lot of time testing the system and then figuring out what parts we liked, what parts we didn't like, adding that into ChatGPT, saying, I don't like this part, I would prefer that it handles it like this. Here is the system prompt that I'm using in Vappy at the minute. Change it and give it back to me and give me the final version. Don't change anything else apart from solving this point. And then we just keep refining it. And the cool thing with that is it's like you have an assistant re-scripting your prompts for you. And I think that's a big thing with AI, is the people that stand out and get the most out of it are the ones that use it to improve their prompts. That's how we created a fully outbound sales dialer that will literally ring these 24/7 triaging calls into our calendar.